What's up, NFL fans? Nic Rohloff here from Chat Sports, doing some NFL daily work. And Micah Parsons was the story in the sports world on Thursday afternoon when the Cowboys traded him to the Green Bay Packers. Well, on today's show, we're going to take a look at what's next for both teams and in the entire league, plus some free agents that could still be available to sign. But let's recap the trade between Green Bay and Dallas. The Cowboys received Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks from the Packers for Micah Parsons. Pretty simple trade, swapping defensive linemen plus a pair of first-round picks going to Dallas. And a couple quick thoughts here before we talk about the rumors that followed the trade is that, number one, the Packers, I think, should win the NFC North. They were actually my pick to win the North prior to the trade. Plus 280 early July. Nic Rohloff here might be a winner on this one. But I do believe with Jordan Love continuing to improve and impress, if they're able to stay healthy, yes, that secondary is a major concern, but a duo of Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary is absolutely lethal. That Packers team, I think, should be able to take advantage of the Lions maybe regressing, the Vikings regressing, and winning the NFC North. And the second quick thought I had was I can't believe the Cowboys really traded him. I know some fans wanted him gone a year ago, and they never wanted to pay him that much money. But you usually just don't see a player of Parsons' caliber and age actually get dealt. So I'm a little shocked that ended up happening. If you want more in the sports world, go give us a follow on Twitter/X. We currently have 15,500 people trusting us to inform and entertain over on Twitter and X. If you're not one of them, join us. Follow us at Chat Sports. It's great stuff. NFL, NBA, college football, and more. Let's look at some of the fallout from the trade. We'll start with the Green Bay Packers and former first-round pick Lukas Van Ness out of Iowa, who was taken in the top 15, by the way, could potentially be on the move. And we know the Dallas Cowboys will certainly be active as well. But let's focus on the Packers at the moment, because when you look at their updated defensive line depth chart, I mentioned that duo up front between Parsons and Gary. It could arguably be the best defensive edge duo in the entire NFL. Yes, you'll look at the Texans with Hunter and Anderson Jr., the Vikings have an elite duo as well, but Parsons and Gary are great. And when you add a player of Parsons' caliber, you have to wonder where the other players that were already there start to fall in line. Van Ness was probably projected to have a large role entering his third season, but now he's slotted in as edge 3. Now, the Packers could keep Van Ness and maybe hope he does progress. This is a first-round pick in 2023 that has 4 sacks as a rookie, 3 sacks last year, but isn't as agile and polished as they would probably want him to be, can only really win with power to this point. And maybe they try to trade Van Ness and recoup some draft capital. Like, I wouldn't say Van Ness has no value across the league. I would have to imagine a team that needs edge help could potentially send a early day 2 pick. I doubt it would get you a first-round pick, but a second-rounder, maybe a third-round pick and a 5th or something like that for Van Ness, that could certainly be on the table. Not a first-round pick, but maybe Green Bay looks to recoup some draft capital after acquiring Micah Parsons. On the flip side, the Dallas Cowboys, their edge group is not the greatest. It's headlined by Dante Fowler and second-round pick out of Boston College, Donovan Ezeraku. Marshawn Kneeland is that DE3, but the depth there in Dallas is not good, and losing Micah Parsons is obviously going to be brutal. The room is pretty rough, and I know they went from maybe the worst interior defensive line to not the worst. I don't know where I would rank it in the NFL, but adding Kenny Clark is certainly a massive upgrade there, because many people believe the Cowboys' rush defense could be the worst in football this season. I doubt it will be the absolute worst in the NFL now after acquiring Kenny Clark, who, by the way, has alternated Pro Bowls each of the last 6 years. 2019, 2021, 2023. You do the math, 2025 might be a Pro Bowl year from him. But you'd have to think that Dallas will ultimately add another edge rusher, because that room is pretty brutal right now. So what say you? Pin comment on today's show. Will the Cowboys make another move in free agency or maybe on the trade block to acquire a big player? I think they have to. I mentioned it. Now, if I lean between trade and free agent signing, I probably would think it's more on the terms of free agency. But you never know. Jerry Jones could make a big splash on the trade market once again. And he had his infamous press conference yesterday after the Parsons trade and, well, dropped a couple hard one-liners, if you will. He said, I'm going to give you this. Not only do we immediately get a player, but those draft picks could get us, I'm talking top Pro Bowl type players. Could. You won't necessarily get those players. You've got to draft or acquire them, but they could get us a few as 3 or as many 5 outstanding players. It not only gives us 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years, we not only do that, but nothing says we can't use some of those picks right now to go get somebody. Don't rule that out. I mean, obviously, those last couple lines from Jerry are very interesting. And it's Jerry Jones, so he absolutely could be lying. I mean, he does that better than anyone else in the NFL. But you do have to imagine Dallas would be somewhat aggressive on the trade market from now until the trade deadline in the end of October. It doesn't mean they're going to go out and acquire a big-name player with those draft picks between now and the season opener in a week and a half, or exactly less than a week for Dallas. But at the end of October, if they're maybe having a good start to the season and they need a little bit more on the defensive end of the field, yeah, maybe they do go out and use one of those draft picks. But I will say this. If you are expecting the Cowboys to go out there and use one of those first-round picks in a trade, I doubt that would be the case. The only player that maybe they would have used it on is a guy like Trey Hendrickson. But Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals have a resolution for this year at least in a restructured contract. There really isn't any big-name players that are on the trade block that would fetch a first-round pick at this point. But they could go out and potentially use some other picks to go out and help their roster. And these are 5 names that I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, I would keep an eye on. At Kwity Paye, the edge from the Colts, I don't think he gets traded, but I did see some deep, dark rumors that maybe Indianapolis could move off of him between now and the deadline, especially if the Colts have a bad start to the year, which, spoiler alert, they're probably going to be bad. Paye is an intriguing name to keep an eye on in October. Braxton Jones is not the starting left tackle in Chicago. We know the Cowboys need some help on that offensive line with Tyler Guyton's injury. Maybe they trade for a guy like Evan Neal, who is serially disappointed in the New York Giants, but he is not someone you could trust to be a starter. Interesting name with Travis Etienne there because Jacksonville has a guy they really like in Bishal Tutton. Obviously, Tank Bigsby. Maybe Etienne's on the out. We'll see. I doubt it. And another name to keep an eye on, Will McDonald, former first-round pick, solid edge rusher, doesn't play the run that well at all. But if the Jets struggle, which I'll say it like I did with Kwity Paye, they probably do, maybe they try to flip him before the deadline for a second or third-round pick. These are 5 names I would keep an eye on for Dallas. But if you're looking for an edge rusher, Kwity Paye and McDonald, if those 2 teams struggle, which they probably will, could be on the block come October. More to come here in just a second, but make sure you get started over on PrizePicks, the daily fantasy sports app I play and the Chat Sports crew plays every day. And with football season officially here, we could not be more fired up. College football, professional football, get on the action with your favorite players like Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. It's so simple. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect, double your money, even if one of your picks does not hit. You can get in on the action with college football this weekend, or you could turn your attention to the first week of the season where you can have more than just a half a passing yard on Dak Prescott. Take advantage of that discount from PrizePicks, but also pair it up with some of your other favorite stat projections like mine with more than Joe Flacco passing yards and more than Demario Douglas receiving yards. 3-player entry there. But join us at PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. So if the Cowboys aren't going to make a trade for an edge before the start of the season. Is there a player they could potentially add before that season opener against the Eagles? Well, here are the three best free agents at that position right now. Za'Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, and Preston Smith. Smith played for the Lions and Browns last season. Clowney played for the Panthers, and Preston Smith played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you look at their numbers last season, I would not classify them as elite edges, but they are still solid players that can fit into a rotation and bring some juice. I mean, Za'Darius Smith had 9 sacks last season across his two teams. Clowney had 5.5, and Preston Smith had 4.5. So there are guys there that, are they juiced up dudes that can lead a room? No. But could they be 2B, 3A edges? Absolutely. And I think Dallas would be better off if they added him. Like, the players that we showed earlier in that edge room certainly are not all better than the 3 free agents we just mentioned. And I would expect those 3 players to sign shortly within the next 2 to 3 weeks in the NFL. And I would have to project Dallas probably gets one of them. I don't know which one they would prefer. Honestly, it feels like a Jadeveon Clowney to Dallas. That I have no idea, but I just feel like we can see Jadeveon Clowney to Dallas just based off how we've seen the Cowboys operate. Feels like a name they would go after. But they need to grab one because Marshawn Nealon, maybe I'm misinformed. I don't know if I trust them at edge number 3. All right, coming up, more NFL rumors and looking at the top 10 NFL free agents still available that aren't edge rushers. But I do want to make sure you all are subscribed to the channel because we are going to continue to bring you daily content in the sports world, college football, NBA, NFL. We'll also be going live at points throughout the NFL season as well. Subscribe today. Let's get 54 on today's show and get to 413K 600. Appreciate everybody watching today's show. Another player I could see Dallas going after, but maybe any team would like to add the services of Christian Wilkins. Unclear when he will return to the football field, but hey, there is a very high chance he gets signed midway through the season to add to an interior defensive line room. I think he, talent-wise, is no question the best free agent available. It's more about that injury and fit. Stephon Gilmore, the former Cowboy, corner that I think could be available, maybe a team that needs corner help. Maybe he returns to the Vikings at some point. The Las Vegas Raiders need some DB help, so maybe Gilmore could land in one of those spots. Gabe Davis, wide receiver, probably the top one available, has visited over the past couple weeks with a couple teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo Bills. I think Gabe Davis might actually just be cooked because for him to visit as many times as he visited with the Giants this offseason, visited with the 49ers, Steelers twice, and the Bills. No signed each time. Probably injured and cooked. Justin Simmons is an intriguing name still out there. The safety could instant impact right away on one of these teams. Now, safety isn't a big position that people go after nowadays and really prioritize, but if you see a safety get hurt or a team get banged up and a team make a surprise release, aka the New England Patriots who released Jabril Peppers on Friday morning, maybe they go to add Justin Simmons as a veteran there. Asante Samuel Jr. is an intriguing cornerback name. He is having a CT scan in October, reported by Jeremy Fowler. And after that little update with his medical in October, you could start to see him sign with a team halfway through the season after the trade deadline. So keep an eye on Asante Samuel Jr. in November as a player that could join an NFL team that wants to add to their cornerback room for the home stretch of the NFL season. Another veteran safety, Marcus Williams, the former Baltimore Raven, could be an option. And like I said, there's a lot of DBs and safeties out there that are basically 30 years old or approaching the age of 30. It's intriguing to see why these names that are pretty big are still out there. Are they completely cooked? I don't know. But Marcus Williams is certainly an intriguing name to keep an eye on. How about James Bradbury? Didn't really play last season at all. He could play safety. He could play corner. Veteran guy. Keep an eye on him if someone goes down. Going back to the offensive end, Tyler Boyd, interesting slot receiver where there's a couple names out there that surprise me Gabe Davis still out there. Kendrick Bourne is still a free agent after he was waived by the New England Patriots. Sounds like he might be going to the Commanders or 49ers. Tyler Boyd's certainly an intriguing option as well. And the aforementioned Jabril Peppers. He was released on Friday, and we were scripting out this video. I was making my list of free agents, and then Peppers was a late addition because of him being released. A little bit of a surprise. I thought he was going to start in New England, but ultimately the Patriots move on and look for more of a traditional safety rather than one of those hybrid linebacker safety guys. So Peppers certainly could join a team. Very interesting there. Keep an eye on the Las Vegas Raiders potentially grabbing Jabril Peppers. And then Kendall Fuller, the final guy that we'll mention here, corner who played for Miami last season. He played pretty good for the Dolphins, but missed 6 games due to concussion. Maybe that scares some teams away on the plus side of 30. But when he was on the field last year, he was good and productive. So curious to see why he still is available in free agency. But that will do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody watching this edition of NFL Daily. I know I usually don't host the NFL shows, but I had a lot of fun. And if you want more NFL content, well, go follow us over on Twitter @ChatSports.